Okay, welcome back. So I'm going to write this down as I go. I'm going to do my predictions for the NFL in week number 7. So last week I'll have to review, and if I have time to look at my predictions, or if I can find my paperwork that I normally keep my writing on, I might be able to correct myself, but I'm pretty sure I'm still above 500 when it comes to my overall record. And for week number 7, I'm just going to scroll to the very bottom. The Ravens and Bills both have their bye week. The Ravens are at 1-5, and the Bills are 4-2. So there should be at least 15 games on tap for week number 7. Starting on Thursday, which happens to be tonight, the Pittsburgh Steelers are heading in to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. I'm going to give the edge to the Steelers in this one only because I still don't have that much faith in Joe Flacco turning this team around. And obviously, if Joe Burrow doesn't come back anytime soon, this season could very well be lost for the Bengals by the time he's even able to come back and recover. And I can't stress this enough with any team. Doesn't matter if you believe you're a Super Bowl contender, you think you can make the playoffs, whatever it is, health has got to be the main priority. Like if Joe Burrow is like 100% to come back in December, but say the team hasn't won a game, and it's possible they might not win a game the rest of the year the way that they've been playing. Their defense is not that great. Their offense is out of whack. So I don't think there's a huge rush to really bring him back. The only reason you should bring him back would be if they were a game or two out of a playoff spot. Then obviously you want to have your face of the franchise come into play and hopefully get a chance to play in the postseason. But he was healthy last year. He just didn't have a good enough team around him. The O-line wasn't that great. So I don't have that much faith in the Bengals for the 2025-26 campaign. And it seems like Aaron Rodgers has found the fountain of youth. I can't stress this enough, that he's doing something right. I thought when he left New York and went somewhere else, he'd be meh. But he seems to have turned this franchise around. I mean, they're in first place, and they basically have like a 2.5 game lead on the Bengals, and the Ravens and the Browns, spoiler alerts, only have 1 win apiece. So if the Steelers happen to lose this division, it'd be their division to lose. But at the way they're playing, they just seem like the team to beat. So I'll give credit when credit is due. All right, the last game in London, in England, takes place between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Rams. So the Rams are coming into this contest at 4-2. The Jaguars have the exact same record. I'm going to give the edge to, the Jags. Why not? They're technically the home team, so why not? I mean, they play in London every year, so I'm sure they have a big enough fan base that they'll be cheering on the Jags for this upcoming weekend. And if they happen to lose, I wouldn't be surprised. I've said this before, that the NFC West has one of the best divisions in the NFC. You could make an argument for maybe the NFC North as well, but I just think that the Rams could still win that division. The 49ers could win that division. The Seahawks could win that division. There's 3 teams that are all 4-2 in that division. All 3 of them could make the playoffs. They're that good. So I expect the Rams to win, but I'll give the edge to the Jags just because they're technically the home team. And I'm sure some London fans would love to see their new home team come away with the victory, the last one of this season. All right, so heading back to North America, we have the New Orleans Saints. They are 1-5, taking on the 3-2 Chicago Bears. The Bears won in Washington last week. I don't think I would have seen that coming. I thought Washington was the better team heading into that matchup. The Saints, I'm sorry to say this, but even though you do have a 1 win on the season, you're still kind of like going to be towards the bottom of the standings once this is all said and done. I don't see a miracle happening in New Orleans, and I think Chicago, they're a better team this year than they were last year, so I expect them to get the home win, and they should improve to 4-2. The Miami Dolphins, 1-5, taking on the Cleveland Browns, who are also 1-5. This has to be the game of the week, right? Hold on, do I got a quarter I can flip? Because I don't have a dog in this one. I really don't. I don't think one team's better than the other. I mean, on paper, Miami should defeat the Browns, but at the same time, the Browns can win a game from time to time. I mean, they beat the Packers, for God's sake, so if they can beat the Packers, why can't they beat the Dolphins? Especially now that Tyreek's gone, basically for the entire season. Tua's little inconsistent at times, to say the least. Obviously, very injury prone. He's healthy this season, but can he stay healthy? That's the big thing. Geez, I don't even know who to take in this one. Whew. I guess I'll take the Browns. Just why not? I mean, they have nothing to lose. We have an AFC West battle between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll take the Chiefs in this one because they should be the better team on paper. Technically, the Raiders are only one game behind the Kansas City, so if Las Vegas happens to go into KC and pull off a W, they would be ahead of them in the standings. But I think Kansas City's finally found their footing. They've now won 2 in a row, if I'm not mistaken, so they know what they're doing. And I mean, they have a Hall of Fame coach. They have an unbelievable quarterback. I hate to say it, in Patrick Mahomes. And it doesn't matter who he has for wide receivers or tight ends, whatever it is, he finds a way to throw them the ball and they find a way to catch it. So as much as I can't stand either team, I have no choice but to go with the home team and the favorite team in this matchup. All right, the Philadelphia Eagles are taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota's coming into this contest at 3-2. The Philadelphia Eagles have lost 2 in a row. They're at 4-2, so no real huge need to panic, but if they happen to lose 3 games in a row, I'm sure heads are going to start rolling. I mean, these are the defending Super Bowl champions. They've made the playoffs for the past 4 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, so they're used to having success in that city and that fan base. I'm going to give the edge to the Eagles in this one. They are the more veteran team compared to the Minnesota. Now, if Minnesota should win, I would not be surprised. But I got to give the Eagles, like they have to stop losing at some point. Now, if this turns into like a 2021-22, when they were on top, and then they went on like a 4 or 5 game losing streak to not only lose the division, but then drop down to 5th place, and then they lost pretty badly to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in what was, I think, Brady's second last playoff game or whatever it was, or third last playoff game. So unless the Eagles are absolutely going to tank, they should be able to get back in the win column, because if they go to 4-3, and if the Commanders should happen to win their game against the Cowboys, which you can see on the screen, then I don't know who would take over first place. I can't remember if Washington already played Philly already, or how that would go by. But if they didn't play each other, Washington could still technically be tied for first place in that division. So there's a lot at stake. I mean, yes, we're only in week number 7, and I mean, they still technically have 10 more games after this to be played. But if you start going on losing streaks in the NFL, that can really hurt your chances to not only be successful, but get in a playoff spot or a division title as well. All right, to the right of that, we have the Carolina Panthers, who are sitting at 3-3. I don't think anybody would have thought they'd be at where they are in the standings, and they're taking on the New York Jets. I'm giving the edge to the Panthers in this one because the Jets haven't shown me anything to prove that they're going to be better anytime soon. So I think for the Jets, they probably go 0-17. I hope they don't for their fan base, because I'm sure they want to have a few wins under their belt. But man, just because they've been so wishy-washy, and I mean, yes, you could make an argument that some games were closer than others, and maybe they should have won that last week against the Broncos, and they should have won against this team a few weeks back, but they still lost. So if at the end of the 60 minutes, if you're not tied and you lost, are you really taking anything away from that? Probably not. All right, now, this would have been an intriguing matchup, but, I mean, it still might be. The New England Patriots, led by Mike Vrabel, obviously the former coach of the Tennessee Titans. The New England Patriots are 4-2 on the season. The Titans are 1-5. I'm going to give the edge to Mike Vrabel's new team and his former team when he played for them, and the Patriots. They're doing a lot better than I anticipated. They're on top of the AFC East division, and if they happen to win this game, regardless, because Buffalo, I believe, has their bye week. I already looked at that. So, yeah, if New England happens to win this, they'll stay in first place, and they technically will have a 1-game lead on the Bills, and obviously that would be huge for this team moving forward. If they can bounce back and make the playoffs after missing it for the past 2 seasons, that would obviously go a long way for this Patriots squad, considering they lost one of the best quarterbacks of all time in Brady in free agency back in 2020, and they've been having a hard time kind of getting the pieces to put back in place in this puzzle. But they got a very good head coach. They got a fantastic quarterback in Drake May. I can't rave enough about that guy, and they got a very solid team around them. So I think for the Patriots, this could be the year, like I said, that they can not only bounce back and get into the playoffs, but they could possibly push Buffalo out of that top spot in the AFC East. I never would have thought I'd say that 7 weeks into the season, but because they already beat Buffalo, there's a chance. Who knows? But I'm for sure taking the Patriots over the Tennessee Titans. Now the New York Football Giants are heading into Denver to take on my Broncos. If Denver's offense shows up, they'll win this game. But if Denver lays an egg and they only get 10 points or 13 points against the Giants, I mean, the Giants have already proven they beat the Chargers. So if they can beat the Chargers, they can definitely beat the Broncos. So my heart says the Broncos, but if their offense doesn't show up, and again, they're very inconsistent against the Giants' defense, I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants came away with a victory. They could be a surprise team in the NFC. They could start going on a bit of a win streak, and who knows where they can end up in the standings. All right, the Indianapolis Colts, red hot Indy, taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. This honestly might be, I'm not even kidding you, the game of the week. Two very good teams, two teams that are on top of their respective divisions. I'm saying the Chargers come away with this one, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it might come down to like a last-second field goal attempt or a last-second stop on defense. Indy is a very good team, and they are probably the best team in the AFC. If I'm not mistaken, I think they do technically have the number one seed in the AFC. So I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Jones went into Indianapolis and came away with a victory. But I got a lot of faith in the Chargers that they should pull this one out. All right, Green Bay is heading into Arizona. The Packers are 3-1-1, while the Arizona Cardinals are 2-4. I'm going to give the edge to Green Bay in this one. They should be the better team. They technically only have one more win than Arizona does, but Green Bay is top of their division. Arizona's bottom of their division. There's a reason why they're first and fourth, respectively, in each other's divisions. So I truly believe the Packers should go into Arizona and pull off a win. If they don't and Arizona wins, I wouldn't be surprised because Arizona can surprise you. They got off to a 2-0 start, for heaven's sakes, and unfortunately they've kind of dropped the ball since. Or a 1-1 and 2-1, whatever it was. Anyway, so I'm going to give the edge to the Packers in this one. The last afternoon game takes place in Dallas as we have the Cowboys playing host to the Washington Commanders. I think Washington takes this one. I mean, Dallas, yeah, they lost a close one to the Panthers, and I mean, it could have gone their way. There's no denying that. But they're really inconsistent this year. For a team that's supposed to be America's team and they're supposed to be like Super Bowl contenders year in and year out, they haven't made the Super Bowl since '95. Now, granted, Washington Commanders / Redskins haven't won the Super Bowl since like the early '90s, so they're both kind of in that like 30-year drought of getting back to the Super Bowl. They not only has neither team won a Super Bowl since, they haven't made a Super Bowl appearance since their respective Super Bowls in 90, and I think the Dallas was back in 95, 96, something like that. So I just can't understand. Like, I understand there's a lot of Cowboys fans out there, and I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful, so please don't take this to heart. But how can you call yourself America's team when you haven't won in over 30 years? I'm surprised that the Patriots aren't America's team because they won, 6 Super Bowls during Brady's era from the early 2000s to the late 2010s. So I don't know. It just kind of blows my mind how they're known as America's team, but they, again, haven't been to a Super Bowl in 30 years. So I don't know. That's just me kind of going on a bit of a rant. All right, the Sunday night game takes place in San Fran, I should apologize, between the 49ers and the Atlanta Falcons. I'm giving the edge to San Fran in this one because they're home. If Atlanta was home, I probably would have taken them, but I got faith, even though the 49ers are beat up on both sides of the ball, that they'll probably come away with a victory. I always seem to bet against the 49ers, and they always seem to win, so I'm going to bet on the 49ers to win, and then you watch them end up losing. All right, Monday night has 2 games. Woohoo! The first one, now granted, I did say that Indy and the Chargers would probably be the game of the week. This honestly might be it right here. The Buccaneers, red hot. The Lions, despite losing against the Chiefs last week, they're a very good team. They want to have a bounce-back game. This is going to be one hell of a matchup between the Buccaneers and the Lions. I'm so pumped to watch this game. I'm giving the edge to the Lions, but just a slight edge. I think Baker just comes up just short against the Detroit Lions. They obviously want to bounce back. They don't want to drop to 4-3. They're already second in that division. If they happen to lose this game, and then say Green Bay wins, then Green Bay's still going to be in first. If they happen to win, and so does Green Bay, because Green Bay had the bye, I think Green Bay still would be in first place. So the Lions really want to hope that Arizona wins and they win, and then this way they can reclaim the NFC North, well, at least first place in the NFC North for now. So yeah, I will give the edge to the Lions on Monday night. And the last game has the Houston Texans taking on the Seattle Seahawks. I got Seattle all day on this one. If Houston didn't get off to such a rocky start, I'd say they could probably afford to take this L. But because they've already lost 3 games already, they've only won 2. If they drop to 2-4 by week number 7 and say Indy wins and Indy gets to 6 wins, which would be crazy to think of, then they would be 4 games behind Indy already for that first place in that division. And when a lot of teams are sitting at the 4-1, 4-2 mark around there for the standings, and if you're 2 games behind them already, I've said this so many times in the past that if you're relying on other teams to lose more than you're focusing on winning, you're clearly not in the right headspace. So for Houston, this is a must win. They have to go into Seattle. They have to get this win to get back to 500. And then if they can get back to 500, then maybe they can start getting on a bit of a roll, start winning a few games, go on a 2, 3, 4 game winning streak. And then you can probably put yourself in contention, if not for a crown, then at least a wild card spot. There's a lot of good teams in the AFC, so they're going to have to go above and beyond in order to try to achieve that goal. But I think it might be too little too late. Now, I know I say this, and after this game, they're still going to have about 10 or 11 games to still to be played, but it's a tough road to hoe, to say the least, for the Texans. I think a lot of people probably thought they would have ran away with this division. Unfortunately, it was not meant to be. So for the Houston Texans, if you're a fan of them, I apologize, because you had such high hopes considering you were back-to-back AFC South champions, and you made it to 2 straight divisional matchups in the playoffs. But this has been a rough start, to say the least, and I honestly don't see Indy or Jacksonville cooling off anytime soon. So I think it's going to be, again, a tough road ahead for the Houston Texans, but if they can happen to win in Seattle, get back to 500, then they might only be a game or 2 behind in a playoff position. But if they drop to 2-4, then they could be 2, maybe 3 games behind teams that are ahead of them in the standings. And if you're halfway through the season and you're trailing by 3 or more games in the playoff standings, it's going to be very bleak for you to get back into the postseason. All right, I better wrap this up so I can actually get caught up on some sleep. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative as well. Until next time, and as always, take care.